Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is the assembly tutorial for the Assassin's Creed Hidden Blade. The first thing you need to do is you need to make sure you have the main body, and what we're going to do is we're going to install the pistons. So the ones we're going to install first are the back pistons, and you'll notice on them they have little slants. That's actually what releases and pushes in the piston as you move it forward and backwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to install them first. Now you're going to want to make sure that the slant is facing towards the back. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to have your springs, and you're going to put the springs in the recessed holes at the back. And your piston should sit just like that. And it really should just sit out as far as it'll go. So you don't want it to be pushed right up against it, because it just needs to be strong enough to hold the blade back. So once you've got your piston in, you're going to take the retaining wall and you're just going to push it in, and then there, now it's stuck in spot. Just like that. So now we're going to do it for the other one. Like that. So now we've got the back pistons in. Springs are pushing them out, which is great. Then we're going to do the front ones. Now the front ones are a little bit different. They look like this, and you're going to want the tab to point towards the back. So same thing, put your springs in, put the piston in, make sure that the spring's not too powerful, then put the retainer in, like that. That one's good to go. Just like that. And there's your front ones. So there's all your pistons in, good to go. You can throw the blade in now. Just like that. It's locked in there, and if enough pressure is put onto it, it goes out, then it gets stopped like that. So there's a blade in there like that. Next, you're going to take the trigger plate and the front and the back trigger. The front trigger you can tell because it has the curves. Goes there. Back one's flat. Goes there like that. And then you're going to take an elastic. This one's pretty big. Just double it over. You want it to stretch enough so that you've got some force already, so it's always under tension, but not too much, or else it'll always pop the pistons before they can be triggered. So there you go, just like that, front and back with the elastic. Now what you're going to want to do is make sure that this tab at the back goes into that slot in the blade, and this tab here runs down the middle of it. And there you go. And you've pretty much already got the blade working. So like that. Make sure the top cover holds this down. So if it's not down, it'll pop the blade back. There you go. There's also some other stuff in here that keeps it from wiggling. So there's that. It's all set to go. And then the next part you're going to need is the top plate, the two linear gears, the main gear, and then the ratchet on the inside. So I'm going to take this one apart so you can see how it's put together. So the ratchet has the main body with the peg that goes into that hole. And then you've got your ratchet mechanism, and then the little tab that comes with it gets pushed into there. So you push it into the main body, and then you push the ratchet onto it, and then you've got this assembly here. Make sure that it's not flipped around or else it won't work. You want the 3 teeth to lock in with these teeth. So when you put it together, you can tell it's working if it makes that sound. So now that you've got that done, put that in the hole. It should spin smoothly. If not, make sure your edges are sanded. And then when you put it together, you need to make sure that it's on the second tooth in. And then once you've got it on the second tooth in, that's okay because it's not fully held down. You can actually slide it underneath it like that. So make sure it's on the second tooth on that one, and then bring your other rail in, put it on the second tooth as well like that. And then you're going to need a length of string tied at the back anchor point here, and you're going to make sure it's as tight as possible so that there's no slack in it. So when this gets pulled, that gets pulled the same length. So I'm just going to throw that back on here if I can get it to go. Just like that. And make sure it goes in the little slot right there, and then it's nice and tight. There's your pull string. This goes to your ring, so it ties around there, and it goes through this guide. This guide keeps it pulling straight no matter where you put the ring. The elastic on here is the same elastic that I used in this one, except it's been wrapped around it a couple of times. You want this to be powerful enough so that when you pull it, it snaps it back, and you're always going to want to make sure it snaps back so it hits this stopping plate. There's a stopping plate here to make sure it's always in position, and there's a stopping plate here to make sure it doesn't go too far. So there's your main assembly, and that rotates that on the inside. This part's very important because this keeps the timing on this. So when you give it a pull and it pulls this part enough to trigger the blade. So once that's completely assembled and you've got all the lengths figured out and you've got the tension right on that, you can move this freely the one way so that it syncs up with that. So let's get this back in there. Like that. And when it goes down, you can tell that it's not in the right spot. So we'll just crank it around a bit there. So there we go. There's the entire thing pretty much assembled except for the top. Now this is very important. This little divot here keeps this from shifting, because you'll notice that it has a little bit of space in it, and if you don't have it supported, it's going to shift back and forth, which is going to mess with the gears. So you're going to pop this on. It has 3 little pegs, 2 at the back, 1 at the front. So pop it in there like that. And now you've got your assembly. Make sure this is flat here. If it's not flat, your peg might not be in the hole. And then you're good to go. So now when you pull on it, you've got that action. Line that back up there. Now these are the 2 side rails. There's a flat part and then a curved part. The flat part goes in the top here like that, and they just press fit. If you guys want to glue these, you can. Just makes it harder to take it apart if you've got to change out the elastics or the string. Give it a nice click in there like that. And then there's the hidden blade. Now, to get the gearing right, because it's a ratchet mechanism, what you're going to want to do is put your finger on the blade and then give it a pull. And what it's going to do is it's going to reset it to the right position that it needs to be in, so that when you pull it, the blade comes out. And if it ever messes up on you, where you've pulled it and it doesn't work, all you've got to do is just make sure the blade's reset and then give it a couple of pulls. So now that we've got it all set to go, there we go, like that. The elastics do wear out. This one's worn out a little bit because I probably shot it 100 or 200 times now. So there we go, like that. There we go. So there it is. There's a fully assembled blade. On the newest update, we've gotten rid of these areas just to make it nice and smooth, especially if you want to do like a 2-color print, which I've seen a couple people do. But there's the blade itself. It's all assembled to go. And there you go. We've also put a new blade up on the site where this channel is now filled in. It's still got a little bit of a channel there just for the guide, but now it's all solid. And a couple people wanted a solid blade, so we decided to make one. So that's how you assemble it. You've got to make sure that your gears have the right pressure on them. Not your gears, your pistons have the right pressure on them, or else they'll hold the blade in too tight. Or what they'll do is the front pistons will press against the sides too hard and it'll slow it down. I recommend getting a little bit of wax. I'm putting wax on the blade, wax on the rails, and then just wax on any moving parts, really, because it just makes them smoother. You can also sand them with 300 grit. Give it a quick sand, it'll smoothen any bumps, and then it'll be good to go. If you guys have any issues with it, where a part of it isn't working properly, shoot us a message either on Reddit or on our website, and we'll take a look at it and we'll get it fixed for you. But there it is. There's the hidden blade, and then hopefully soon we'll be releasing the one from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then you guys can take a crack at that one. There you go. Thanks for downloading, and anybody who's already printed it, you guys are awesome, and just stay tuned for more cool stuff.